All right, guys, let's talk about it. Some Diablo 4 updates, as well as going over the biggest change for Blizzard. We're getting a brand new president. So, this is pretty exciting to me because I wanted some massive changes to Blizzard in general. Specifically, I can get that StarCraft 3. But on top of that, we're getting a new president, Johanna. There's a little read up over here. I'm going to give you guys the TLDR as a Diablo content creator. Unless StarCraft 3 comes out, then we'll also be covering StarCraft 3. But we'll probably be checking out Stormgate, which is kind of looking cool too. But at the end of the day, from this new announcement, we got a new president. The only thing that's important to take into consideration with this post is that they mentioned that they are a big Diablo 4 fan over here. Now, I would have been more excited if they said I'm a huge Diablo 2 fan, because that's the game that I think a lot of people resonate and grew up with that are Diablo fans. But at the end of the day, if they're a fan of Diablo 4 and they're just mentioning it, hopefully some of the changes that they wanted to add in the game, now that they are president, now they can actually change it. The main thing that I really want to see specifically from this new president, if they have control over this, because sometimes there's other people that manage other things, is to take the Diablo 4 partner feedback as like the holy grail. Implement the things that we want to see in the game. These are going to be objectively, in most circumstances, going to actually give a bigger life cycle to the game in its current state. Specifically, adding some more different ways to do PvP, add more forms of endgame content, not kind of rehashing the same nightmare dungeons like we have with vaults. It's just a nightmare dungeon, but there's traps sprinkled in, and some of the traps aren't even placed in the correct location. There could be a way better testing. Speaking of that, I'll kind of want to go into both positive and negative. This video is going to cover kind of Season 3 in general. But you can see over here on Reddit, when they're even asking for feedback, it's like, we want your feedback. No, just take the Diablo 4 partners' feedback a little bit more seriously, because we cover most of the things and we write it in a way that is more, I would say, nice. Because some people, while they will just go on and on, complain about things, they'll do it in a way where like it's not going to really encourage them to actually make these changes, where pretty much most of the Diablo partners are going to be relatively more formal, so to speak, on this. But specifically, I think one major issue is that we are doing a lot of these forms of content, leveling this pet, getting these uniques that are super, super rare with a 0.5% like drop rate, and then everything poofs. Whereas games like Path of Exile, well, your stuff usually goes to the non-seasonal standard, and then you still kind of have the thing, so you didn't waste all this time kind of getting this, Uzi glyph or something like that. And I know some people may make the argument that, well, if you do that, then people will just play non-seasonal. At that point, your seasonal content should be so fun that people want to play on the new season. That should be the point of a new season, to play on it, right? But anyways, continuing on, going over some of the complaints, and specifically going over the things that are 100% things that could be ironed out if they just did a little bit more playtesting here. They did this like emergency patch so early on, it feels like we were maybe like the beta testers, and maybe that's the way that they want to run things. And I think that I don't even want like early access as a Diablo partner to be able to test the season, because I want to play it earlier. Genuinely, I think that we can fix the game a little bit more before it is released with the season. Like with this issue, I was not able to progress in the seasonal questline, the main core thing. And a lot of people also had the exact same issue, because when I was live streaming and I ran into the issue where I could not actually complete my little upgrade to continue doing the questline, a lot of people are like, bro, don't worry, it happened to me too. I was seeing this back to back again and again. People are like, you have to disable crossbow, you have to log out and log back in, close your Battle.net launcher, relaunch it. Like these kind of issues, where it might be like a 1% chance that it happens with some bugs, but this one, it seems like it was very, very evident. And you can see even Adam Fletcher reposted it, so he's basically saying, yeah, we are understanding of this bug, we are aware that it exists. It's great, but at the end of the day, I think a little bit more testing would be a little bit better. And I also want like way, way more content with these things, not just like rehash nightmare dungeons at the end of the day. But I also want to talk about some positives and some cool things. Now, I myself have been complaining about the essentials not being more powerful enough, and they more recently kind of addressed this by saying, we're going to let you guys level up the companion a little bit faster. And honestly, it took way too long, but you can see this video actually over here. It's posted by Yugioh, but it was actually someone named Syndicate. The pet actually can one-shot not actually one shot, 1v1. You can actually do a one shot thing. We'll talk about more of that in a later thing because I don't know if that's going to be patched out by the time this video comes out. But nonetheless, the Sentinel, this is just them walking around. The Sentinel is actually going to be able to eliminate Dura. Now, it's about like a 3-minute kill, so it's not like super, super fast. But for the people that were thinking the Sentinel is super weak and does absolutely nothing, it can do things. Unfortunately, the way I kind of see it working is that just seems like it kind of lags behind and it doesn't pick up the gold like in Diablo 3. But basically, it's just to let you guys know that the Sentinel can actually do damage, and numerically, it does do damage because I was sitting there and testing it out, and it does do damage. However, at the end of the day, the feedback from the actual feel versus, you know, what the numerical stats say that the pick can actually do, it's a big difference. Another thing is that, like, why didn't we have this upgrading aspect things? The inventory is already bad, and then now we have not only the nightmare dungeons, we have the vaults that we have to manage, and I think that we just need to salvage upgrading for aspects, or even having them like nightmare dungeons, just having them all being able to be stacked up, or some sort of other inventory system would be great, because inventory management is not really that fun, considering they keep on adding more things for us to go ahead and throw it in our inventory. Now, some people are saying that they did have a lot of fun, and I will go ahead and back up. At least we're not doing nightmare dungeons, right? But at the end of the day, I still feel like it is too similar to Nightmare Dungeons in terms of the mechanic. And some people don't like that there are these traps. Now, for me, it's more so that, well, if they had the traps, but then you had like a guaranteed chance to get a Uber Unique or a small chance, I would be a little bit more incentivized because I don't want to do the Duriel runs. That's one thing I'm not looking forward to. But at least in terms of being able to kind of have something else besides just Nightmare Dungeons, even though they kind of feel like reskin Nightmare Dungeons, that's at least a step kind of in the right direction, but I want to see more stuff added into the game. Specifically, more things. People are saying like the Charge Barb is awesome. They want to see more revamped skills from like this. So I wanted to see specifically on the Necromancer a massive amount of minion buffs. I think that would be something that a lot of players would love to see as well. And like, as far as all the skills, I don't know why Barb just got this plus Diablo 3 multiplier plus 900% of the base damage added in. Why couldn't Caltrops or any of the skills that see less than like 1% of play in terms of the endgame, why couldn't we also see a massive buff in that department for the skills that are, again, seeing less than 1% of play? I think that would have been cool. And then, you know, just kind of rotate some of the skills in and out. But nonetheless, that's something I would want to say in terms of feedback. And other feedback is the urn is not working. Some people are saying, yeah, this thing is not even working. So again, I remember before when you would get the thing to increase the amount of gold that you would get, it actually costs more to reroll. If these were tested out, these would have easily been seen as things that could be instantly fixed. And on top of that, there was some sort of duping exploit, so trading was disabled. At least, I think it was like last night when I was playing, they still had trading disabled. So I understand they're doing it to prevent an exploit, but like, we are getting so many bugs reintroduced in this game, and it is just unfortunate. What I find more interesting is we still don't have just open trade. Just try it out for seasonal. See how it works. If it doesn't work out, then that's fine. But at the end of the day, I think trading, like a full open trade, would make people more incentivized to actually play longer, because if they're like, okay, I'm done with my grandfather, I now want a, you know, Spear of Lycander, right? I can go ahead and trade maybe my grandfather for that. And then I want to actually build other characters. I want to see full open trade. This is something I've been mentioning time and time again. Other things, Vault Goblin's not even dropping loot over here. I don't know why this has existed. Some other people were saying that it just drops nothing. So I haven't seen this one, but I'm just going to mention, you know, why people are maybe finding some issues with the game frustrating. Apparently, there's also a bug with Charge Barb. If you, I guess, maybe charge into the wall, the Anemus may go into the wall, and you can't actually progress. That's a big issue that Torchlight Infinite, not Torchlight Infinite, Torchlight, how is it? Torchlight 3 had for a while, where like you could not actually complete some of like the areas. So as far as the vault after the patch, this is another mention of like, I would say this is on the positive. Where like leveling of the pet is much faster, and then they're able to skip out on Nightmare Dungeons completely just because you're able to again do the new thing. But again, I want to say it's kind of a reskin of Nightmare Dungeons, and I don't get why this isn't enabled. Why don't pets pick up the gold and materials just like in Diablo 3? I think that would be a great addition. And this is an area where like, okay, they give you a free, you know, pet essential, and then maybe you can buy different pet sentinel skins, and it picks up the gold, then people will actually, maybe this is another source of revenue for them. But in addition to that, it's not like going to be pay to win because you still get like a base pet, right? I don't know why like these quality of life things just don't exist in the game in general. So another thing that was actually quite nice that I want to give him some credit for, because I didn't really like the design of the aspect of disobedience, especially if you had a slow hitting character. There's the juggernauts, and I've already added this into like every one of my builds. So yeah, this thing is insane. It gives you potentially like almost 6,000 armor, which is basically half of your armor in just one aspect, which is crazy. But at the end of the day, they are kind of addressing that disobedience might not be something that people want to use because of the way that it interacts with, again, slower hitting skills. The other way to actually fix this, because I remember when they had like the resistance thing where everyone would just start stacking as much armor as possible, you can just increase the flat armor, and then you'd have an extra slot for more utility, I guess, or you can just throw this on and you'll be a-okay. But another thing in terms of like the nerfs and stuff, this is just a video that I thought was interesting because it's showing that even though they nerf ball lightning, I mean, the thing is still very powerful. It almost melts the Lilith in the first phase over there, but at the end of the day, some of the things that were nerfed, I know it's going to make people upset, and people are like, ball lightning was my favorite, they ruined it, I'm quitting the game. But honestly, this guy was saying that he wasn't even fully optimized, and it's just melting Lilith, right? This is actually kind of a bigger thing, because I wanted to cover kind of the state of the game and how players are actually feeling. And this guy over here is like, dude, the whole entire dev team needs to be replaced, which, I think that this would be a good idea. Not just because, like, I want to see some changes in the game, and I think that having a new season with a brand new cast of people, because a lot of people actually got laid off. There's a lot of layoffs because of the new acquisition, and we got a brand new president as well. But on top of that, I think this would actually be a very interesting concept, and this would make each season actually feel completely different, to have a new set of people working on these seasons, because these seasons honestly feel way undercooked. The only season that I've really felt like was really cool is season 2, and it wasn't even just because of the seasonal like vampiric mechanic. It's because we got the uber bosses that we could actually do it. So I don't know if I want to say that that's part of the season. Maybe that same team worked on that, but I want to see that kind of level of like, oh, there's like 5 brand new bosses. They all have these consistent drop rates, and we have something to kind of like look forward to. There's a bunch of brand new bosses, and I want these bosses to be a little bit more challenging. I'm not saying like Lilith level where it feels unfair, but brand new things. And this guy's like, yeah, clean house and bring in some ARPG rats. It'd be really cool, and this is something that I'm going to actually maybe talk about in the future. I'm going to try to push for a season where we actually, as the Diablo partners, get to completely work on the season. I think this would be really cool, as they have kind of done something with a wild card in Overwatch, where they had a lot of content creators actually kind of work on kind of a separate patch for the game. I think this would be one great addition. If they can get the same kind of thing to happen for Diablo 4, I can see the game doing a lot better in terms of its future. If we just had one season where they just got all the Diablo partners and we're like, hey, Diablo 4 partners, we're going to let you control this season, make all of the patch notes, let you actually kind of fix the game, so to speak, because some of these things, like in the game, they have buffed certain things several times, like Wind Force, Eyes in the Dark, Caltrops, and a lot of players still don't even want to use them at all because they're just not good enough. It feels like maybe they don't actually play every single build at the high level at, Sigil 100. So it's kind of hard for them to maybe understand how the mechanics work, and we need some hardcore action RPG players that can maybe the benchmark would be like, can you kill Maven in Path of Exile? I know this is a weird thing, but the Torchlight Infinite team actually had a really cool requirement to work on the game. You had to have a minimum of 2,000 hours in action RPGs to work on the game. And I think that this would be really cool to have some sort of requirement as a bar entry for maybe some of these changes. Like, have you completed, I don't know, a GR 150 in Diablo 3? And then you can make some suggestions, because you understand the game in terms of its fundamentals and what maybe could be something better for the grinders that want to play a lot more. Or just some sort of benchmark. Like, have you completed at least Diablo 2, like the whole game, at least in hell difficulty, at least solo, or just some sort of benchmark? Because genuinely, I feel bad saying this, but at the end of the day, I want to say a lot of people that may work on this game have not played Diablo 2 enough to the point where they understand why Diablo 2 is a fan favorite, why it's always going to be a game that people love over the other Diablo games. I think that would be a really great thing. Anyways, moving on to the other things. This person just saying it's impossible that they worked on this for 6 months, because remember, there's 2 different dev teams that work on the development cycle of the seasons. Basically, there's 2 teams. One works on one, and then that way they have enough time to work on the next one. They're basically saying it's impossible. And while I want to say that sometimes things like one bug can cause so many issues with any video game, whether even if you worked on any Flash video game, you know that like one line of code can mess up everything, and then you have to go back. But at the end of the day, I want to see a lot more, especially with Diablo 4 being one of like the Diablo, as far as the franchise goes, is one of like the most popular action RPGs of all time. And to look at like this new season, and I'm like already done within the few first days. Like if I play even within the first day, I was like, dude, I'm just grinding for like the same exact thing. Other than, okay, I'm playing Rogue right now, I can get the Beastfall boots, and then I can start one-shotting things like I could in Season 2 with like the Tibalt's bug, although now it's not a bug. Arguably, objectively, I'm still going to be weaker because I don't have the Tears of Blood glyph. Well, I'm really enjoying myself. Am I having fun just avoiding traps as a new mechanic? It's kind of weak. I want to say that there needs to be a longer life cycle in the game. And this right here, via Darth microtransactions, he hit the nail right on the head with this statement. I just want to play it real quick because it is a big part of a frustration as far as the Diablo partners here. I just want to play this real quick.
To write 15 essays, and I've seen plenty of other people go out there and do that and send the feedback, and then have that feedback drastically get ignored, and then the next season that comes out is literally worse than, in my opinion, preseason, because at least.
So what he was saying is that he's like, we have all these partners writing up the good feedback, and I've seen the feedback. I write them up too, and I'm like, why aren't they implementing? Why do you even have partners? Mr. Llama actually mentioned this too. He's a Diablo 2 player and content creator, and he was like, well, why do you even have the Diablo partners, mention some of the things that they want to see changed if you're not even going to take it into consideration? Now, I do want to say, I have actually seen direct things actually get buffed. I've actually mentioned certain things. I was talking about like lightning with the druid like being completely like useless. I've also mentioned Inferno being completely useless. They did change lightning. They did also change the word of con. I've mentioned a bunch of the uber uniques and the uniques that needed to be fixed, specifically Ring of the Starless Skies, because you could literally just do a dodge and it just removes all of the buffs. Some of these may be exploits, things not working as intended and not fully tested. But Inferno has so many incredible bugs. It is crazy. So that one might take a little bit longer in time. But at the end of the day, I want to say that you can easily fix some of these things with just cranking up a numerical stat like a Barbarian plus 900% damage. If we got Inferno and just Incinerate. That's the channel skill that like no one uses as sorcerers, because the embers that shoot off of Flamescar don't count as a direct damage and don't count as a damage over time. So what kind of damage is it? The game isn't coded correctly, and if anyone's played that, you know what I'm talking about. That thing is just absolutely terrible. But for the most part, these kind of feedbacks, maybe they are working on it and takes more time. And I think it would be really cool for them to say, we understand Inferno or Incinerate or these skills are underperforming. You guys are going to be seeing buffs soon. Whether that's next season or whatever, we're working on it. At least maybe mention that in the campfire. That'd be really cool. They're talking about this being a step back because people are very angry. They're like, dude, I played for at least 200 hours on hardcore, and the blood harvests were fun, and the wars were impactful. I mean, you're just getting legendaries at the end of the day. I think getting uniques is a lot more exciting than legendaries doing these vaults, because these vaults slow down gameplay. People that play action RPGs want to go zoom for the most part. That's the part of the progression in an action RPG. Diablo 3 does this very well, where you get your 6-piece set and you are blasting through content, where Diablo 4, you're like, oh, I gotta like grab this item, go over here. It's very tedious. It doesn't feel like they understand what an action RPG should be at the end of the game, like as far as the end game content. By the way, the devs claim this would be the biggest season yet, and that's demonstratively false. Okay, so what is this, like Robo-Pet that traps in the open world? It slows it down. I really don't get how this was supposed to be the biggest season. They're like, they lied again. Well, I think Season 2 was actually pretty good. Genuinely, like overall, there was a lot of problems and stuff, but Season 3 is a pretty big letdown, just looking at like Twitch numbers and stuff. But I want to say there is going to be a mid-season like patch. There's going to be the gauntlet. So we do have something to look forward to. It's not just like, well, we have to wait until Season 4. There is that mid-season update, and hopefully that will be addressing. And there's no way they tested the vaults. And I was saying the same thing. I'm like, how are these tested? There are traps that are in locations where you don't even walk. It's like the random generator didn't have like the correct execution of the placements. Like it was genuinely untested. Oh, this is talking about the layoffs. So even though we are getting a new president and there's a lot of layoffs here, the thing that I find unfortunate is this could actually make it take longer for us to get what we want in terms of an update. But I definitely think, like I was going over like the top things on Reddit, and I want to say that there is hopefully going to be some massive changes to the game, and specifically what I'm really looking forward to and what I'm going to try to push for in one of the next Diablo chats that we have with the people that actually work on the game as Diablo partner. I really want to push, and I'm just hoping, fingers crossed, that I can get like the same thing that we had in Overwatch, where they let some of the content creators take over and do something for the game for like a patch. If we can have the Diablo partners just 100% control the next, like just have them work on the next season, I honestly think that this game would be so much better. But anyways, let me know your thoughts. How are you guys feeling about this season? Are you looking forward to playing more? Me as a content creator, I have a couple build guides that I do want to go ahead and finish. Like I want to do the Meteor Sorceress, and I want to do like the one-shot new rogue without the Tibalt's bug that you can pretty much one-shot everything. There's a couple things that I want to do, but am I really going to be enjoying my playthrough throughout the entirety of leveling up multiple character classes to 100? Well, wait, see. But honestly, right now I'm still traveling. That's why we're recording this in a hotel room. I'll be back in a week, and hopefully by that time the gauntlet will be up. We'll go push for rank 1, and then it'll be kind of where I end off on the season and my thoughts on it. So I'm going to see some massive changes, hopefully in season 4. But other than the gauntlet, I am not really seeing any massive change. Like we're not going to get a new class in the middle of like a mid-season update. But that's a level of things that I think would be really cool to see in a new season. A new class in a season would be huge, and that would make a lot of people more excited, because then when you're leveling up from 1 to 100, you can like test out all these different things. You have all these new toys to mess around with versus like, oh, I'm doing the same kind of thing again and again. Anyways, that's my thoughts. Let me know your thoughts down below. Thanks for watching. If you guys enjoyed it, drop a like, subscribe if you're new, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace out.